Right, we live right now. What's up, everybody? Thanks for clicking this video. Thanks for tuning into my channel. My name's Simon Hill, Black American from Louisiana, filming this video on November 17th, 2023. It's about 8 p.m. out here where I'm at in Budapest, Hungary. And today we're going to build real heavy, like we always do, on an interesting topic. I wanted to do this topic last night when the news just broke, but I was chilling with my wife, watching some shows, getting my groove on, you know what I mean? And then I had some English classes after that. Just finished work right now, so I'm about to delve into this. I'm sure you've already heard about the story. You already know all the characters involved if you tuned into this channel, or at least if you black. Yeah, we're talking about Brother Love. We're talking about Sean Combs. We're talking about Diddy, Puffy, Puff Daddy, whatever you want to call him. Interesting man, entrepreneur. His legacy and his repertoire, his resume is long as a biblical scroll. He's somebody that doesn't really need that much introduction. He had a girlfriend named Cassie for many years. He said he loved Cassie, wanted to marry Cassie, but that never happened. Cassie ended up marrying some fitness trainer dude, and now she got like 3 kids with him, I think, like that. Anyway, came out of nowhere last night that Cassie is filing a lawsuit, a civil lawsuit against Diddy for basically the R word, basically take that. It's so ironic. It's so ironic. And the crazy thing is, before filming this live stream, I was listening to Life After Death. And there's a song on there called The World is Filled. And on the first verse of Biggie's song, The World is Filled, Diddy pops up. And I know Diddy didn't write his raps. You know what I'm saying? Everybody knows Biggie wrote his bars. But we're going to start today with a little bit of poetry. We're going to start today with a little bit of poetry from Sean Combs, possibly penned by the notorious B.I.G. Rest in peace. And this is a funny verse. I believe this verse is very dope. It's a dope verse, but it's hilarious to read this before we get into this case, because we're going to read the entire case. So now, first come the cash, then come the ass, then come the big blunts with big chunks of hash. When I score with a whore, she be game for sure. Chick fucking with me, believe me, that's a privilege. I won't be satisfied till all my niggas get it. See you hit it, then I hit it. We get it back and split it. And Big be that nigga, we be flying through your hood, and hood rats scoping with their eyes on my goods. See, we date them like we hate them. See, we don't like them, we need them. See them like them, we don't need them. Sorry. See, we date them like we hate them. See them like them, we don't need them. Treat them like we beat them, and never give up freedom. And we only give our number to a selected few. And it's best that you never knew what good head'll do. Turn a freak to a bisexual, and if she's flexible, fuck the nigga next to you. Yeah. dope verse dope verse, hilarious poetry. It's I fucked it up a bit, but hey, this verse, it's crazy how what you say can come into existence. But I'm gonna say this: I'm on Brother Love's side. Any black man being accused by a non-black woman of the R word, I'm automatically going to take his side and have the utmost doubt, because too many black men lost their lives behind some, pale skin with thick thighs who said, oh, he took it from me. So let's get into the case. We're going to read the entire thing. So the United States District Court, Southern District of New York, Cassandra Ventura, the plaintiff, versus Sean Combs, Bad Boy Entertainment, Bad Boy Records, Epic Records, Combs Enterprises, LLC, and Doe Corps, 1 through 10. This is the complaint, jury trial demand. So she's demanding a trial by jury. She doesn't want to settle. She doesn't want to do nothing like that. Maybe she will settle, but let's see. Civil case number 23 CV 10098. So, trigger warning. Here's a trigger warning for anybody who's watching this video now or going to read this document. The document contains highly graphic information of a sexual nature, including sexual assault. So let's get into it. Plaintiff Cassandra Ventura, Miss Ventura, hereby alleges as and for her complaint against defendant Sean Combs, Mr. Combs, Bad Boy Entertainment, Bad Boy Records, Epic Records, Combs Enterprises LLC, and Doe Corporations 1 through 10, together defendant corporations and together with Mr. Combs, defendants as follows. Preliminary statement. Defendant Sean Combs is a rapper and record executive, popularly known by his stage name Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, or Diddy. Mr. Combs came to fame in the early 1990s with with his record label, Bad Boy Records. He rose to prominence in the music and entertainment industry over the decades and is regularly referred to as a hip hop mogul, which he is. We will always put respect on black men who achieve financial freedom and achieve great things in modern American capitalism. So in 2002, oh no, pardon. In 2022, Mr. Combs received the Lifetime Achievement Award at the BET Awards. During his acceptance speech, Mr. Combs stated, "I have to give a special shout out, thank you, love, to the people that was really there for me." He named a number of people before adding, "and also Cassie for holding me down in the dark times. Love." Interesting. Very interesting. I guess they have to prove that there was some correlation between the two people, like there was some relationship, and there's nothing more public than you're at a filmed, celebrity awards show. So let's continue here. The truth, however, is that Cassie, Miss Cassandra Ventura, was held down by Mr. Combs and endured over a decade of his violent behavior and disturbed demands. For Miss Ventura, the dark times were those she spent trapped by Mr. Combs in a cycle of abuse, violence, and sex trafficking. Among other violent and unlawful acts, Mr. Combs raped Miss Ventura in her own home after she tried to leave him, often punched, beat, kicked, and stomped on Miss Ventura, resulting in bruises, burst lips, black eyes, and bleeding. Blew up a man's car after he learned that he was romantically interested in Miss Ventura. That's a crazy accusation. Totally crazy accusation. Not crazy as in I don't believe it, because I did sort of allude to Puffy being behind Tupac's murder in a video I made previously this year, which you should go check out. It's a live stream. But it's still a wild accusation because somebody like Puffy, he can't get away with anything. You know, he has all eyes on him. He's a famous celebrity. There's nothing he can just like get away with, like blowing a car up. You know what I mean? Anyway, forced Miss Ventura to engage in sex acts with male sex workers while masturbating and filming the encounters. If that's true, the film has to be out there and they should file a, I don't know, one of those court orders that demands you turn over cell phones, cameras, or any sort of technology or recording device you have in your home, if that's true, because we would like to see. No, we won't. We don't want to see that if Cassie was actually, being trafficked or being, forced to have sex with people. We don't want to see that. But Cassie she's a baddie. She's a baddie. We got to give her that. So ran out of his apartment with a firearm in pursuit of a rival industry executive whom he learned was nearby. Oh my God, that doesn't even sound like Puffy. That don't even sound like Puffy. Running out of the crib with straps in his hand. I don't know, man. Demanded that Miss Ventura to carry his firearm in her purse just to make her uncomfortable and demonstrate how dangerous he is, and introduced Miss Ventura to a lifestyle of excessive alcohol and substance abuse and required her to procure illicit prescriptions to satisfy his own addictions. Okay, this I can possibly believe because I got to keep it real. Most celebrities probably do a lot of drugs. They do a lot of drugs and they want people around them to be into drugs with them. So, Miss Ventura met Mr. Combs in 2005 when she was 19 years old and he was 37 years old. He signed her to his record label, Bad Boy Records, and within a few years lured Miss Ventura into an ostentatious, fast paced, and drug fueled lifestyle and into a romantic relationship with him, her boss, one of the most powerful men in the entertainment industry, and a vicious, cruel, and controlling man nearly 2 decades her senior. Okay, so this is, of course, her lawyers and her people giving this statement, but they're leaving out the fact that Cassie was dating Ryan Leslie. Ryan Leslie is a famous singer, and I believe he was signed to Bad Boy Records as well. And Ryan Leslie was first dating Cassie, and then Ryan Leslie introduced Cassie to Puffy, and then Puffy decided he liked Cassie, and Cassie decided she liked Puffy. So Cassie left Ryan Leslie, and ended up dating Puffy. You get what I'm saying? So they need to include that part in there as well, like how they really met, because there can be an argument made. There can be an argument made by some people, and I'm not even saying I fully agree with this, but that Cassie was being hypergamous, meaning that she was trying to go to the bigger and better baller that she was around. You get what I'm saying? Ryan Leslie was the worker and Diddy was the boss. And so maybe she was trying to move up, trying to go up in rank. This is an argument some people will say to try to, cast doubt on her because she chose this lifestyle, probably pursued Puffy. I don't know. It's not right. Overall, it's not cool for a 37-year-old man to be dating a 19-year-old, in my opinion. With that large of an age gap, that y'all ain't got nothing in common, and there's that relationship is rife for abuse and exploitation to happen because somebody has a lot more maturity and experience over the much younger person. That's not cool at all, in my opinion. Yeah, date within your age range, at least like 5 years younger than you or 7 years. You get what I'm saying? If you're a man. So yeah, don't go like 19 and I'm 37. That's crazy. Mr. Combs asserted complete control over Miss Ventura's personal and professional life, thereby ensuring her inability to escape his hold. He provided unprecedented avenues for success for the aspiring artist, but in return demanded obedience, loyalty, and silence. Okay, so yeah, I think with this accusation right here, this could be true that Diddy is a controlling guy. You know, most famous people who are hyper successful, they're like on another level of OCD and want to have complete control, and they feel like they're the masters of the universe. If you meet a guy who drives a truck and he makes around $200,000 a year, he feels like nobody can tell him nothing, especially if he's self-employed. If you meet anybody who's a boss and owns a company that even makes a little bit of money, these guys are, you cannot talk to them. I used to work in a call center, you know, pitching merchant cash advances to people. And if you talk to a guy who's a whale, meaning he makes a lot of money in his business, he almost does not want to talk to you. You have to really try to hold that man down, or he has to be desperate for money at some point in his life to actually want to give you the time of day. And when you try to tell him what is available for him, meaning what he qualifies for when you run his credit, he does not want to hear it. And I'm pretty sure Diddy is like that. Diddy seems like a very controlling type A personality, wants to be on top of everything, and he's a very famous person, so he probably wants some discretion with his personal romantic life. You get what I'm saying? So if Cassie was dating him, I'm not surprised Diddy might want discretion to some extent. And he might be a very controlling individual. But what degree of controlling? Because you know, if you're dating somebody like Diddy, this is probably going to come with it. You know what I'm saying? I think if there was an extreme level of controlling, like he's telling her what to eat, when to wake up, when to go to sleep, who to talk to, who not to talk to, that's insane. But if he was just like, I want you or to wear this dress, or I like you to look like this, in a way that's not, how can I say that, demanding, meaning like he's asserting some things because he has a certain image, so maybe he wants the woman he walks in with to have a certain image too. I mean, he's a celebrity, so he always has to be cognizant of the cameras around. Do you get what I'm saying? So that's just my opinion. I'm going to continue here. Throughout their relationship, Mr. Combs was prone to uncontrollable rage and frequently beat Miss Ventura savagely. These beatings were witnessed by Mr. Combs' staff and employees of Bad Boy Entertainment and Mr. Combs' related businesses, but no one dared to speak up against their frightening and ferocious boss. If that accusation is true, that's absolutely not cool. Following these episodes of horrific abuse, Mr. Combs would immediately attempt to hide Miss Ventura and the evidence of his violent rage. He often showered her with gifts following incidents of physical violence, a typical pattern of behavior by serial abusers. In addition to the physical assaults, Mr. Combs frequently reminded Miss Ventura of his ability to cause serious harm, whether by requiring her to carry his guns in her purse or by blowing up the car of a musician that was romantically interested in Miss Ventura. I can't wait to read that text if there's more information on that, because that's crazy. Threatening to blow up or literally blowing up? No, they said literally blowing up a car. I wonder who that is. Anyway, adding insult to injury, Mr. Combs used illegal substances and threats of violence to force Miss Ventura into repeated unwanted sexual encounters with male sex workers. See, this is the thing, man. I feel like a lot of people want to say Diddy is gay, and this has been a rumor about Diddy for years, but I don't believe Diddy is gay. Low key. I don't believe Diddy is gay, and I'm standing on that. Because if that was actually true, I think that would have been included in this lawsuit, because she's going out there. She's claiming Diddy is, blowing up cars like he's a member of the Goodfellas or something, like he's a made man in the mafia. She's saying that Diddy beat on her. I think she would also include that Diddy had sex with male sex workers too, and also made her do it as well. I think she would have said that if she's going all the way out like this. You get what I'm saying? So I don't believe Diddy is gay, because if this woman was around this man from like 2005 till 20 whatever, like 2010, 2011, whatever, I think she would have seen that and been around that. But who knows? Who knows? I don't know, and honestly, I don't care if Diddy is gay. But I think if he was, this would be information that we would know by now for certain. So over the years, that Mr. Combs abused Miss Ventura physically and sexually, she again and again tried to escape his tight hold over his life. Every time she hid, Mr. Combs' vast network of corporations and affiliated entities found her, and those who worked for Mr. Combs' companies employed her to return to him. Many went as far as to explicitly state that her failure to return to Mr. Combs would hinder her success in the entertainment industry. Yeah, I can sort of believe that Diddy, has the power to take over her life and have people track her down and say you'll never be anywhere without me, you'll never be successful without me. Diddy could make her blackball her career. I think that's true. So, when she believed that she had finally separated from her longtime abuser, she joined Mr. Combs for a dinner, after which he forced her into her home and raped her while she repeatedly said no and tried to push him away. That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. And you know what? Unfortunately, a lot of men do this. Unfortunately, a lot of men, meet up with a girl and they don't take no for an answer, especially if you've been consensual with her in the past. And even if she might give it up, meaning like she looks like she's enjoying the sex or she's laying down with you consensually, that's not consensual sex, and that's a dangerous game you're playing with yourselves. You know what I mean? I mean, it's a real thing that some men do, and it's not okay to do. No means no. When I first met my wife, I asked my wife first, could I kiss her? And she thought that was weird because so many other guys had come up to her and literally just kissed her. But I asked her first, hey, is it okay if I kiss you? Because number one, I'm a black man and I'm paranoid as hell about somebody doing like a Cassie to me, claiming Simon raped me. I've never had a woman in my life say that I've ever tried to take it from them or I ever tried to force myself on them. So I'm paranoid about that ever being an accusation against me because as a black man, so many black men have had their freedom and lives taken away just because of that. The accusations of non-black women saying that, oh, he tried to force himself on me and that sort of stuff. Never want that to be in my, reputation. Ozzy jumped into the chat. He said, holy sheet. Yep, holy sheet. That's what we're looking at. The sheets of paper that allege that Diddy is a rapist and a woman beater. Let's continue reading here. So, Miss Ventura has now fully escaped Mr. Combs, but the harm that the assaults and sexual abuse he caused her to experience for nearly a decade will forever haunt her. She has required intensive medical and psychological care to recover from the trauma she lived through. She cannot, however, continue to live in silence about what she endured. Mr. Combs remains immensely powerful and immensely dangerous. Miss Ventura therefore seeks justice for the decade of her life that Mr. Combs took away from her with threats of violence, excessive use of drugs, physical and psychological abuse, and sexual slavery. Accordingly, Ms. Ventura brings this action seeking injunctive, declaratory, and monetary relief against defendants in violation of federal sex trafficking laws, 18 USC 1591, et sequence, et sec, the New York State Human Rights Law, NY exec law, 290, the New York City Human Rights Law, NYC Admin Code 8101, et cetera, et cetera, the Gender Motivated Violence Act, the New York Services for Victims of Human Trafficking, the California Sexual Abuse and Cover Up Accountability Act, and the California Trafficking Victims Protection Act Civil Code. This is all very serious stuff she's alleging, and I feel for any woman who's been abused or had or has abuse happening to them right now. It's not cool. You shouldn't beat on women. You shouldn't try to take that from women. If you don't have a good mouth game, this is my advice for all men out there. Rich, successful, poor, whatever. If you don't have a good mouth game, and I'm not talking about, pleasuring with the I'm not talking about sexual pleasure. I'm talking about words, being slick with it, being smooth and cool. If you don't have a good mouth game, you can't get her out of her panties. And if she want to leave and your mouth ain't strong enough to pull her back like a magnet, you ain't got no game. And you got to let her walk. Don't try to beat on women. Don't try to chase down women. Don't try to stalk women. All of that stuff. I've done some dumb stuff in my past. I caught a stalking charge when I was like 24 because there was this one girl I really, really liked, could not let go of her, and started like popping her at her crib. And boy, she took it so serious. She called the police on me. They even arrested me and everything. I was on probation for it. It's not cool. I've been there, done that. I used to trip out whenever one of my exes wanted to leave. You know what I mean? I never beat on a woman, never beat on a woman, but I could say I tried to talk to them as much as I could. I've been there, done that. You know what I mean? And as somebody who's failed and succeeded in his love life in all ways, I can only say, Diddy, don't hit on Cassie if you actually did that. You get what I'm saying? And women, if you do get hit on, leave. So Ozzy said, I'm not familiar with their relationship timeline. What years did these alleged incidents take place? So they met in 2005 and broke up around a decade later, so 2015, right? So yeah, they were together for about 10 years. Cassie was dating a singer named Ryan Leslie, who was the artist essentially for Diddy. Uh, Ryan Leslie introduced Cassie to Diddy, Diddy to Cassie, and next thing you know, Cassie and Diddy are dating, and she leaves Ryan Leslie. So that's how their relationship began. She was an aspiring singer and dancer. She had like one hit song back in the day, but then when she got with Diddy, she didn't really release any more music, and that was that. And now she popped up yesterday with this big lawsuit against Diddy, claiming all these things that we didn't know. So let's get into it. Jurisdiction and venue. This court has jurisdiction pursuant to 28 USC 1331 and 1343, as this action asserts violations of 18 USC 1591 and therefore raises federal questions regarding the deprivation of plaintiffs' rights. The court has supplemental jurisdiction over plaintiffs' related claims arising under state and city law pursuant to 28 USC. Pursuant to 28 USC, venue is proper in this court because a substantial part of the events or omissions giving rise to this action, including the unlawful employment practices and intentional and negligent tortious conduct alleged herein, occurred in this district. So what they're basically saying here is that this case needs to be held in New York because most of the things that happened in this case happened in New York. That's all they're saying here. Let's go to the parties involved. Plaintiff Cassandra Ventura is a resident of the state of California and Connecticut and was employed by defendants Bad Boy Records, LLC, and Bad Boy Entertainment and related entities, among them Doe Corporation 1 through 10, from 2006 to 2019. At all relevant times herein, Ms. Ventura met the definition of an employee of defendants under all relevant statutes. I wonder if she was getting a regular paycheck or was she on contract? Do they have the documentation? Did she file her taxes? Cassie, we better make sure that we better not find out you didn't file your taxes and you trying to get 30 million from Diddy. Let's find out. Defendant Sean Combs, upon information and belief, resides within the state of California. At all relevant times herein, Mr. Combs met the definition of an employer of plaintiff under all relevant statutes. An employer, he was the boss, really? It sounds like he was like, they were playing employer boss, like some sick role play, because they had a relationship that lasted much, much longer than Cassie's actual career. Well, if Cassie was making money for like 10 years and she was only dating Diddy, is that a form of prostitution? Tell me. So, defendant Bad Boy Entertainment is a music, media, and entertainment company founded by defendant Sean Combs, which includes the record label Defendant Bad Boy Records, LLC. At all relevant times, defendant was an employer of plaintiff within the meaning of all applicable statutes. Defendant Bad Boy Records, LLC is a Delaware limited liability company with a principal place of business located in New York, New York. At all relevant times, defendant was an employer of plaintiff within the meaning of all applicable statutes. Defendant Epic Records is a New York based record label owned by Sony Music Entertainment, a subsidiary of Sony Corporations of America. At all relevant times, defendant was an employer of plaintiff within the meaning of all applicable statutes. So, yeah, basically, Bad Boy Records is owned by Sony Records. And yeah, that's why Cassie is filing all these lawsuits because she's suing Diddy as her employer for wrong, employment practices and sexual assault and sexual abuse. And so then she's also suing the record label that Diddy owns, which is owned by a larger company above him. So Defendant Combs Enterprises LLC is a New York limited liability company. At all relevant times, defendant was an employer of plaintiff within the meaning of all applicable statutes. Defendant Doe Corporations 1 through 10 are corporations and entities affiliated and associated with defendant Sean Combs and the defendant corporations. At all relevant times, defendant Doe Corporations 1 through 10 were employers of plaintiff within the meaning of all applicable statutes. So yeah, Doe just means like unknown, like as in unlisted, unregistered companies. So there's a bunch of like shell companies. Maybe Diddy has like a company in the Bahamas, maybe he has a company in Jamaica or something that he's, stashes some money in. Who knows? So let's get into the factual allegations. This is the meat and potatoes right here. This is the real stuff. This is the real deal. Real deal. Let's get into it. So, factual allegations. Teenaged Miss Ventura meets middle aged Mr. Combs as her career begins. Middle aged. If you're 37, are you middle aged? I thought middle aged was at least like 50. Oh, damn. That means I'm about to be middle aged in like 4 years. That sucks. That sucks. I don't want to be middle aged yet. Let me get like a good decade. Anyway, uh, Miss Ventura met Mr. Combs in late 2005 or early 2006. How do you not remember the first time you met Diddy? How do you not remember the first time you met Diddy? After Mr. Combs heard Miss Ventura's single playing in a club and expressed interest in signing her to his record label, Bad Boy Records. I don't think that's absolutely true, but let's continue. At the time, Miss Ventura was 19 years old. Mr. Combs was 37 years old. Within months, in February 2006, Miss Ventura signed a 10-album deal with Mr. Combs' record label. Miss Ventura's first album, Cassie, was released in August 2006, debuting at number 4 on the US Billboard 200. Is it a good album? Should I listen to it? I don't know. To promote the album, Miss Ventura made television appearances on MTV's Total Request Live and BET's 106 in Park. Miss Ventura suffered from significant performance anxiety during these appearances, and press outlets were highly critical of Miss Ventura's performances on these shows. Well, maybe she wasn't a good performer. I don't know. I don't know, man. I didn't watch it. I do remember Cassie's song. It had an interesting beat, nice beat, but that's it. So, Mr. Combs, however, sought to rehabilitate his newly signed talent, telling MTV News, "You could hear the nervousness in her voice. And to be honest, I kind of smiled at it because it made me really appreciate what I really love about her. She's a regular person. It just made me appreciate that she got nervous. And it was kind of cute to me, to be honest. You've got to understand that success for her is coming out of nowhere. It's just so huge. And sometimes everybody handles it differently." While clearly paternalistic in noting that it was cute to him how regular Miss Ventura appeared, Mr. Combs' comments rang true to some extent. Upon signing with Bad Boy Records, Miss Ventura was quickly thrust into the spotlight and was unfamiliar with how to navigate her new celebrity status. So, Ozzy said, "You should drop a video on Culturalist Theory reviewing her songs, or is that too soon?" That's a very interesting thing. That's a very interesting idea, Ozzy. uh Cassie doesn't have a lot of songs and she's not like super relevant. I really wouldn't want to listen to Cassie's music. I got some good stuff coming though. I got some very good stuff coming though. I did the review for the new Jeezy album. So hopefully that comes out. I did a list for Talib Kweli. I hope that comes out. I did a list of Justin Timberlake albums that's not released yet. And yeah, it would be really dope if those videos dropped because those guys got some heat. But anyway, Mr. Combs' recognition and glorification of Miss Ventura's naivete proved to set the groundwork for his manipulative and coercive romantic and sexual relationship with Miss Ventura, a woman nearly 2 decades his junior. Within a year of signing with Bad Boy Records, Mr. Combs became deeply entrenched in Miss Ventura's life, almost immediately asserting possession and control over her, and inserting himself into all aspects of her career and her personal life. In November 2006, Mr. Combs invited Miss Ventura to perform his song Come to Me along with him at the MTV Europe Music Awards in Copenhagen, Denmark. After rehearsal for the performance, Mr. Combs walked around in a robe with a drink in his hand, flaunting his lavish party lifestyle to the label's newly signed artists. Diddy is like famous for having like all white parties and basically big mega mansion parties and stuff like that. He was a party addict, a party animal for like a lot of years, and a lot of celebrities have stories about going to like Diddy's parties. So that's not out of the ordinary. I also think it's not that out of the ordinary for record executives to try to sleep with their artist. Didn't like the Motown guy like Barry Gordy marry like Diane Summers or something like that, or yeah, basically like unfortunately the music industry, like I've said before on my previous episodes, is one of the most gangster dirtiest businesses of all time. It's essentially run by gangsters. The People who committed crimes in the past are committing crimes now, hide money, walk around with money in like duffel bags and suitcases. They do crimes actually to make sure that the records are played. I mean, back in the day, DJs used to get beat up for not spinning records, or payola was popping when you could just slide a few dollars to a radio disc jockey and he would make your record hot. I mean, the music industry is dirty, okay? It's a known fact. And yes, a lot of record executives sleep with the women, unfortunately, who are very beautiful, who want to become stars. This is just known in most entertainment industries. Is it okay? No, it's not okay. But I'm not surprised that Diddy exhibits this type of behavior if this is true. So during hair and makeup leading up to the performance, Miss Ventura's hairstylist and Mr. Combs' makeup artist told Miss Ventura that Mr. Combs was interested in Miss Ventura. Miss Ventura shrugged off the gossip and, in fact, expressed disgust given the large age gap between her and the president of her record label. Emphasizing the age and power dynamic early on in their working relationship, Mr. Combs positioned himself as a father figure and protector of Miss Ventura. By way of example, after returning to New York after a trip to Las Vegas, during which she endured a brief hospital stay, Miss Ventura, who by then was fully healthy, went out to a club with her friends when Mr. Combs saw her out. He reprimanded her, telling her to go home and take care of herself. At the time, Miss Ventura thought that her record label was looking out for her well being and that Mr. Combs had her best interest in mind. Mr. Combs also ensured he was intertwined with Miss Ventura's personal and social life. For instance, by inviting himself to Miss Ventura's 21st birthday party in Las Vegas, he also brought along famous musicians and producers, thereby flaunting his celebrity status and influence in front of a young and impressionable Miss Ventura. Although Mr. Combs knew that Miss Ventura was in a relationship at the time, and even though she was publicly in a relationship with Kim Porter, Mr. Combs nevertheless pursued Miss Ventura. After an after party, pardon, at an after party in a hotel suite following Miss Ventura's 21st birthday, Mr. Combs pulled Miss Ventura into a bathroom and forcibly kissed her. Miss Ventura did not consent to the unwanted contact. She immediately ran out of the bathroom and the hotel suite and cried. She told her best friend at the time about what happened, but was too scared to tell anyone else. Yeah, that's not, something that I'm surprised by, honestly. Unfortunately, a lot of men try to kiss women without consent, and that's not cool. Always ask consent. Women think it's cute. Women think it's cute if you ask to kiss them. And if she says no, hey, that's no, and let it go. Yeah, Diddy also was in a relationship with Kim Porter, who passed away, I believe, last year. And Kim Porter was a woman that Diddy dated for a very long time, back in the 90s and the early 2000s, I believe, and she's the mother of Diddy's like three kids. So yeah, Diddy was trying to cheat. He was trying to cheat, but as we know, black men don't cheat. Black American men don't cheat. So I think Mr. Combs is actually from like Jamaica or Nigeria, because black American men don't cheat. There's not been a single time a black American man has cheated. Prove me wrong. I'm going crazy. Ozzy said, "Damn, that's sick." Yeah, that's sick. It's sick if you stick a tongue in somebody's mouth who did not ask for it. So I'm going to continue with the story. At the Video Music Awards, the following day, Miss Ventura's boyfriend at the time joined her and Mr. Combs at a table at the award ceremony. Mr. Combs became angry, telling Miss Ventura that the invitation to the award ceremony was only for her and not for her significant other. Mr. Combs lures Miss Ventura into a relationship. I wonder if the significant other that they were talking about, by the way, was Ryan Leslie or another famous person. I want to know. So, Mr. Combs lures Miss Ventura into a relationship. Despite her clear rejection of Mr. Combs's advances, Mr. Combs continued to demand Miss Ventura spend time with him, including for a weekend at Mr. Combs's residence in Miami and for nights out in New York City. On one particular night around September 2007, Mr. Combs insisted on taking Miss Ventura out. Miss Ventura acquiesced, fearing that rejecting Mr. Combs's request would have repercussions for her album deal with Mr. Combs and his company, Bad Boy Records. Mr. Combs picked up Miss Ventura from her apartment in Manhattan in a blue luxury vehicle. Miss Ventura was surprised that when she got into the car, Mr. Combs was already inebriated. He handed her a pill and told her to take it When Miss Ventura asked what the pill was, Mr. Combs dismissed her and told her she would like it. She later learned the pill was ecstasy, something Miss Ventura had never before tried and did not want to try. This was the first time Mr. Combs got Miss Ventura high. Mr. Combs then proceeded to drive recklessly at very high speeds down the West Side Highway of Manhattan. Miss Ventura was very scared, but did not dare to object to Mr. Combs, who appeared drunk, high, and agitated. Mr. Combs in downtown Manhattan, where he proceeded to get into an altercation with the security staff who would not permit Mr. Combs to enter, presumably because he was belligerent. Miss Ventura decided to go home, but for the remainder of the night, Mr. Combs messaged Miss Ventura incessantly, complaining that she left him, that must be a typo, that she left him high and alone. Yeah. So this is crazy. This makes Diddy sound like a super thug. Like seriously, this makes Diddy sounds like a monster. And you know what? As a fan of hip hop, and just watching Diddy from a distance all these years, Diddy comes across as somebody who's cold, calculated. He's a bit eccentric in a way because of his dancing on screen and his ad libs on the records, and him being in the music videos. But he comes across as a very like bright man, like a very intelligent man. You get what I'm saying? And not somebody who would risk his whole life driving drunk down the Manhattan highway. Popping pills and smoking weed and getting into fights with people at the club. That don't sound like Diddy low key to me from what I've seen. Now behind closed doors, everybody's different. Everybody's different. Hell, the person you see on screen right now, I'm not like this all the time when I turn the camera off and I go back to my regular life, right? Like I do the same thing you guys do. I watch Netflix, I chill, I smash my big booty wife, I go outside, I go running, I go walking. I mean, I do regular stuff. I'm not like this all the time. But either way, this makes Diddy sound crazy. If this is actually true, it would be a shame if it's true because we actually love and respect Diddy low key as hip hop fans. But it's never cool to go and beat on women or make them take drugs, anything like that. I'm going to continue here with the story. Uh, in early fall 2007, Mr. Combs flexed his power and influence when he paid a promoter to create a fake flyer for a party hosted by Miss Ventura. This fake posting allowed Miss Ventura to have an excuse to go to Miami, Florida, and get her away from her boyfriend by using the guise of a legitimate event she had to attend. Miss Ventura was stunned at how easily Mr. Combs was able to recruit others to lie for him. Miss Ventura was uncomfortable with the fake flyer, but because the request to go to Miami was made by the owner of her record label, and because she was scared to go against his wishes and face repercussions to her nascent career, Miss Ventura agreed to join Mr. Combs in Florida. During this trip to Miami, Mr. Combs provided Miss Ventura with copious amounts of drugs. She became more intoxicated than she ever had before, and her intoxication lasted throughout the weekend trip. As she wanted Mr. Combs to continue to support her career, she felt she could not refuse Mr. Combs's urging her to take more drugs. After providing her with drugs, Mr. Combs had sexual intercourse with Miss Ventura during this trip. Within 2 years of meeting Mr. Combs, Miss Ventura found herself lured into the immediate circle of her boss, the owner of her record label, and one of the most powerful men in the entertainment industry. So, yeah, she didn't say at this sentence explicitly that Diddy raped her. But, if what she says is true, Diddy was abusing his power as her boss to make her be in situations where she would be vulnerable and helpless unless she acquiesced to his demands. And that's not cool. You don't try to corner women. You don't say, hey, you really want to, walk home on the highway, or do you want to, give me some top in the car. You get what I'm saying? That's not cool. That's not cool. Don't do that to women. Just let the women be. Let the women be, man. Don't be mean to the broads. Don't be mean to the broads. Let's continue here. Mr. Combs exerts control over Miss Ventura's career and personal life. From the very start of their relationship, Mr. Combs exerted his power and influence over Miss Ventura. This dynamic was fueled by their nearly 20-year age difference, as well as their relative positions in the entertainment industry, with Mr. Combs considered a music mogul and Miss Ventura at the very start of her career as an entertainer. Mr. Combs' aggressive and demanding approach to those he worked with made it impossible for anyone to challenge him, and Miss Ventura soon learned that Mr. Combs insisted on blind loyalty from everyone in his inner circle. Although Miss Ventura had saved up some earnings from her young modeling career, Mr. Combs's ostentatious display of wealth was intimidating to her. Mr. Combs paid for things with wads of cash and would repeatedly tell Miss Ventura, "Don't worry about money. I have money." Mr. Combs expensed lavish vacations for him and Miss Ventura, purchased a car for her, paid for her apartment, and provided her with extensive amounts of designer clothing. All right. So I'm not victim blaming at all. I'm not going to victim blame. But where was the agency if this was really so abusive? If this was really so bad and if it was really so abusive, where was the agency from Cassie to say, you know what, it's not worth it? If I'm going to be with this man who's almost 20 years older than me, and yes, he's giving me clothes and shoes and he's giving me a record deal and all this stuff, where's the agency to actually walk away? I'm not victim blaming at all. And I'm not going to say this like as in like some guy telling a woman, "Oh, you wouldn't have got raped had you, ran away faster or bit his dick or something like that." That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, you know, this was an extended period of time that she was around this man. She had enough time to be around him and say, "Hey, I don't like this person. I don't like this deal." And get out of it. Yes, Diddy is known for signing bad deals or making artists sign bad deals because she signed a 10-album deal. That Cassie was not going to make it to 10 albums. There was no way. So she was eventually going to get shelved and not have a career. She messed up in the beginning signing to Diddy. And if you sign to Diddy at this point, let's keep it real. We all respect and love Diddy for his contributions to hip hop, like bringing us Biggie and Faith Evans and Mary J. Blige. But there have been a list of other artists who have signed to Bad Boy and had terrible experiences, and they fight to get their money back, and they diss Diddy. You get what I'm saying? Look at Mace. You get what I'm saying? And a lot of other singers as well. What I'm saying is she messed up by signing to Diddy. If you really wanted to get on in the industry, you got to go and grind it out. Don't just expect that Diddy's going to hear your song in the club one time, see a nice, pretty set of legs walking to him, and say, "I'm going to make her a star." No, he's going to bend you over the couch. That's what he's going to do, low key. I mean, that's just my opinion. That's just my opinion, though. I'm just sharing my opinion. But where's the agency? She should have turned down the designer clothes, luxury bags, and sort of walked away. Sort of walked away. But I'm going to continue reading here. So around 2008 or 2009, Mr. Combs began to rent an apartment in Manhattan for Miss Ventura. The apartment was within walking distance of Mr. Combs's New York residence. He first showed Miss Ventura the apartment by bringing her there along with her parents. Miss Ventura's parents were skeptical of the mogul's displays of wealth, but proud of their daughter's newfound success. Around 2010, Mr. Combs similarly paid for an apartment for Miss Ventura in Los Angeles, which was located about 5 minutes away from Mr. Combs's residence. He paid for many of her apartments in California and also purchased a Jaguar for her around 2013 or 2014. All aspects of Miss Ventura's life were controlled by either Mr. Combs or his management companies. Every event Miss Ventura attended, from the travel to the makeup and clothing, was paid directly for by Mr. Combs and his affiliated companies. Isn't that what women want? I thought women want to get flown out, get their hair did, get their makeup did. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I thought that's what women like. That's what the city girls rap about. That's what Megan Thee Stallion rap about. Or is it just fantasy? Who knows what women want? You know who knows what women want? God. Compounding this all encompassing intrusion into her life, Mr. Combs secured his control over the young and impressionable Miss Ventura by introducing her to a drug fueled lifestyle that kept her complacent and compliant. Mr. Combs first introduced Miss Ventura to opiates around 2008 and would often have pills and other drugs out in the open, like candy. Upon information and belief, Mr. Combs has been addicted to prescription painkillers and took ecstasy frequently. Yeah, that's not surprising. I wouldn't be surprised if Diddy did coke, weed, ecstasy, painkillers, heroin. I would not be surprised if Diddy was drugged out of his mind. At first, Miss Ventura was given the prescriptions that Mr. Combs received from a doctor in Miami, Florida. Eventually, Mr. Combs exhausted his supply of pills. He demanded that Miss Ventura procure prescriptions from this Miami doctor in her own name. Mr. Combs also became deeply involved in Miss Ventura's personal life, with his personal staff attending Miss Ventura's day to day travel and other needs, including medical care. On multiple occasions, Mr. Combs had Miss Ventura's personal medical records sent directly to his email address. For instance, when Miss Ventura began experiencing memory loss, potentially due to excessive drug use and or head injuries caused by Mr. Combs' beatings, as described below, Her MRI results were provided directly to Mr. Combs. Mr. Combs also repeatedly arranged for his staff to drive Miss Ventura to certain doctors' appointments. In this way, Mr. Combs exerted ownership over Miss Ventura. As another example of the ways in which he manipulated Miss Ventura and ensured obedience early on in their relationship, he asked Miss Ventura what she called her grandfather. When Miss Ventura said that she referred to her grandfather as Pop Pop, Mr. Combs perversely insisted that Miss Ventura referred to him with that nickname. Wow. So yeah, Diddy was sick. Yeah, Diddy was popping pills, making Cassie get pills for him because he couldn't get the prescription. Yeah, her medical records were sent directly to Diddy. I mean, it was wild. Diddy was basically controlling this girl, and there's a lot of danger for Diddy as a black man. You know, it's almost a miracle that Diddy was able to make it this long as a black man at such a high level in America, being in the industry that he's in. Because let's keep it real. Every time Diddy dates a non black woman, Diddy gets in trouble. When he was dating Jennifer Lopez, him and Jennifer Lopez were dating. Then, they shot up the club. They were in a club. A fight breaks out. A shooting happens. A lady gets shot in the face. Jennifer Lopez and Diddy are speeding off in the car. Diddy asks J-Lo to hide the gun. J-Lo gets all scared. Both of them get arrested. Charges dropped on J-Lo. Diddy beats the case. Shine, the rapper who was signed to Diddy, who was allegedly the shooter, gets sent to Belize. Diddy almost didn't recover from that. Diddy could have been in a jail cell because of that. Diddy could have always been. I'm not saying that him dating Jennifer Lopez got him in that situation, but every time Diddy dates a non-black woman, he ends up in this situation. I'm gonna keep it absolutely real with you. He was dating Cassie for almost 10 years, and everybody, who were fans of Diddy or just people who were fans of hip hop were watching Diddy and Cassie out, and we were like, damn, Diddy got a bad one. Diddy got a baddie because Cassie is fine. Cassie is fine. And, Diddy was saying he wanted to marry Cassie. He wanted to have a baby with Cassie. Cassie was not feeling him. Cassie said all of this stuff that she was not feeling Diddy. And what happened? What happened? Diddy is now facing this lawsuit from Cassie for like $30 million. I'm just saying, where there's a pattern, there's a pattern. Every time Diddy dates a non-black woman, there's trouble. There is trouble on the horizon for this young man. I wish Diddy the best. I actually really like Diddy and I respect him for all he's done for hip hop. But come on now. Come on now. So Ozzy jumped into the comments. Ozzy says she's fine as fuck. It's clear she was never really interested in him. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, with a young woman like that, just probably does not want to be with an older man. Let's keep it real. Let's keep it real. Men generally don't want to be with like much older women. You don't really want to be with a grandma. And women are probably the same. If you see a woman with a much older man, that man has a lot of money, or that older man has a lot of game, but even still that woman is probably thinking she wants somebody closer in age range. A lot of women do like older dudes. A lot of women like older dudes. Like my wife loves me because I'm a little bit older, more mature, and stuff like that. I hope she doesn't think I'm immature after she watches this live stream, but you get what I'm saying here. Some women like older dudes, but they don't like them that much older. And they definitely don't like to get beat on and drugged and abused. Don't beat on women. Don't abuse women. I got to repeat that. Ask them for the kiss. I'm going to continue reading the story. Mr. Combs and Miss Ventura's relationship became violent and abusive. What started as a whirlwind of celebrity meetings and drug and alcohol fueled parties, however, quickly turned frightening and violent. Miss Ventura was also exposed to the intense violence that pervaded Mr. Combs's rise to fame. For example, on one occasion when Mr. Combs and Miss Ventura were using drugs together in his home, one of his security staff barged in and announced that Suge Knight, a longtime rival of Mr. Combs, was spotted at Mel's Drive-In Diner in Los Angeles. Mr. Combs began to get dressed, retrieved multiple guns from a safe, and ran out of his home to where he believed Mr. Knight was dining. Miss Ventura became terrified and began to cry. All right, so I don't believe this. I don't believe this. I don't believe this. I don't believe around 2006, 7, 8, Diddy really wanted to have smoke with Suge like that. Because let's keep it real. Diddy and Suge had beef for a long time. Because back in the day, like in the early 90s, Diddy and Suge had some problems in Atlanta or something like that. A shootout happened, and one of Suge's homeboys got shot. So that's what really started the East Coast West Coast war, because Diddy and Suge both two record executives from opposite coasts, Diddy from New York, Suge from LA. Suge Knight, the leader of Death Row Records that signs Tupac, Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg. Diddy had Biggie, Faith Evans, Mary J. Blige, Craig Mack, all that sort of stuff. They get into an argument. Somebody gets killed in that argument. Suge got beef with Diddy forever. Tupac jumps into it. The whole East Coast West Coast war starts. Years later, Pac dies, Biggie dies, Suge goes to jail, and Diddy is still the last man standing. I don't think at all it makes sense for Diddy to say he was going to get the strap and pull it out on Suge in 2006, 7, or 8. Diddy won the war. Diddy won the East Coast, West Coast war. Even though he lost his homeboy and he lost his primary artist, Biggie, it made no sense for Diddy to try to run up on Suge with the strap. So I don't buy this story at all. It does not make sense. Doesn't make sense on any level. I'm going to continue here. On at least two occasions, Mr. Combs demanded that Miss Ventura hold Mr. Combs's gun in her purse. Miss Ventura had no familiarity with guns and was petrified that the firearm would accidentally go off in her purse. There was no clear reason why Mr. Combs required her to hold his gun except to reinforce to his young girlfriend that he was violent, powerful, and dangerous. Over the next decade, multiple times each year, Mr. Combs would violently beat Miss Ventura, leaving bruises on her body. After every instance in which he beat Miss Ventura, Mr. Combs used his money and power to orchestrate extensive efforts to hide the evidence of his abuse, including by hiding Miss Ventura in hotels for days at a time to let her bruises heal. Once again, I can somewhat believe I can somewhat believe that Diddy put hands on her, which is not cool. What did Lil Wayne say? I do my white bitches anything but beat them, and if they like rat poison, then I'm gonna feed them. You get what I'm saying? Diddy should know better to put his hands on any woman. It's not okay to hit any woman, but if you're a black man beating on non-black women, you're playing a very dangerous game. You might as well be playing Russian roulette with five in the chamber. You get what I'm saying? Or five in the barrel. You're crazy. You're crazy if you actually did that. If you're a black man beating on any woman, that's not cool. But you're playing a very dangerous game in America doing that. You feel me? I'm going to continue here. In one such instance, after a party with Jay Z, Mr. Combs beats Miss Ventura repeatedly in an Escalade, including by kicking and hitting her. He forced her out of the vehicle on Fifth Avenue in New York City. She was eventually able to hail a cab and get to her apartment in Manhattan, where she cried in fear, realizing there was no one she could tell about what had happened at the hands of this incredibly powerful man. She spent the subsequent 3 days hiding in her apartment. Horrible, absolutely horrible. I wouldn't want that to happen to my daughter. Uh, in January 2009, after Mr. Combs learned that Miss Ventura spoke to another music manager at a party in Los Angeles, he became enraged. She had hoped speaking to this manager would allow her to further grow in her career and that Mr. Combs would be happy for her. But instead, he became extremely angry and pulled her out of the club where the party was taking place. In the car leaving the club, Mr. Combs beat Miss Ventura, pushing her into a corner of the vehicle and stomping on her face. Mr. Combs' security staff, Roger Bonds, tried to stop the beating but was unable to de escalate the situation. When the car arrived at Mr. Combs' residence, Miss Ventura attempted to run away, but Mr. Combs followed her and proceeded to again kick her in the face. Miss Ventura was bleeding profusely and was ushered into Mr. Combs' home, where she began to throw up from the violent assault. Once again, it's not cool to do this to women, and I understand women that are scared to come out when they're being abused. And I also understand feeling like you're trapped in a situation. And I also understand maybe not wanting to come forward with these accusations because people might start judging you. Like I could easily start doing now. Why didn't you leave? Why didn't you file a suit then? Why didn't you call the police? I'm not going to say that to Cassie because that's not cool at all. That's not cool at all. There are just some parts of this testimony that I don't believe, like Diddy trying to pull up on Suge with the strap. When you mix in stuff that's very hard to imagine, and also stuff like Diddy was blowing up cars or threatening to blow up cars and all this sort of stuff, when you mix in that stuff that's hard to believe with some truth, maybe, that Diddy was putting hands on her, it's hard to actually, come to some conclusion. You get what I'm saying? But I'm going to continue reading. Let's continue here. So, during this stay, as her injuries from the beating healed, Miss Ventura began to fully realize that Mr. Combs's tremendously loyal network not only knew about and witnessed his assault, but also that these witnesses were not willing to do anything meaningful to stop Mr. Combs's behavior. She recognized that she was powerless and that reporting Mr. Combs to the authorities would not alter Mr. Combs's status of influence, but would merely give Mr. Combs another excuse to hurt her. So let's go to 70 right here, part 70. While in the hotel, she asked to go home to her parents, but Mr. Combs wouldn't let her leave. She lied to her mother when asked about an online gossip forum that reported the assault. Mr. Combs proceeded to instruct of gifts for Miss Ventura, which were delivered to the hotel room where she remained trapped. Miss Ventura was terrified, isolated, and unable to see a pathway out of Mr. Combs's abusive hold on her life. She found herself becoming numb to the abuse she was experiencing and became entirely beholden to Mr. Combs's demands. She began to blindly follow his instructions out of fear of again being on the receiving end of a vicious beating. By Mr. Combs's own admission, his relationship with Miss Ventura was like Bobby and Whitney, a clear acknowledgement of the unequal power dynamic and excessive domestic violence that permeated their relationship. From the outside looking in, Miss Ventura had heard others refer to her relationship with Mr. Combs as akin to Ike and Tina. Okay, so it's funny how you can just put Bobby and Whitney in there and Ike and Tina in a text, and people already understand the concept. Toxic, violent relationship. That's hilarious. I never once, just from the outside looking in and keeping a cursory understanding of like celebrity gossip, like just doing like, just watching a few videos here and there and just skimming the blogs every now and then, or when something goes viral. I never thought of Cassie and Diddy as Bobby and Whitney or Ike and Tina. They always looked more like, how can I say this? Like Nicole Anderson Smith and that old billionaire in a wheelchair, if that makes sense. They always looked like, Cassie was obviously with Diddy because of the financial opportunity and the career opportunity to be with a mega mogul celebrity. And Diddy was with his new hot young thing who was like 20 years young and had a, nice body on her. So that's what it looked like. It didn't look like it was super toxic. You get what I'm saying? But maybe the truth was hidden from us all these years. Who knows? So her volatile and abusive partner, who also owned her label and therefore held her future success in his hands, had fully exerted control over every aspect of her life. Mr. Combs forces Miss Ventura into sex trafficking. Oh my God. All right, so it's getting even more salacious as we go. So we had the beatings, we had the drunk driving, we had the drug popping, we had all sorts of stuff. Now we're into sex trafficking. Sex trafficking, something that, oh, it's horrible. It's horrible. Don't traffic sex. Don't traffic sex. So, within a few months of beginning a romantic relationship with 40-year-old Mr. Combs, the 22-year-old Miss Ventura felt beholden to his whims and demands. While in New York City, Mr. Combs told the while in New York City, Mr. Combs told the Miss Ventura, why did they write told the Miss Ventura? There's typos all over this. How can you file a lawsuit and you have typos all in your document? While in New York City, Mr. Combs told Miss Ventura that he wanted to engage in a fantasy of his called voyeurism. Mr. Combs said that it would turn him on if he saw Miss Ventura with another dick. Ugh. Gross. I can't do that, man. There are people who are into that, but she's accusing Diddy of being a cuck. Puffy the cucky. That's wild. That's wild. I mean, it's not out of the norm because once again, we've had allegations that Puffy is gay for years. I don't believe Puffy is gay because if he was gay, Cassie would have said it because she obviously knew filing the suit she would tarnish his reputation. So Ozzy said, "Jesus Christ, it gets worse." Absolutely. So the first time Mr. Combs hired a man and brought the man to his home in Los Angeles, the man, Mr. Combs, and Miss Ventura wore masquerade masks and ingested drugs. Mr. Combs directed Miss Ventura to perform sexual acts with this man while Mr. Combs watched them. He masturbated while he directed Miss Ventura and the man to do specific sexual acts. Oh, God. Oh, eyes wide shut. Oh, God, that's just nasty. That's nasty. I couldn't imagine doing that with my wife, my girlfriend, nothing like that. I sit on the couch and watch y'all have sex. And then I see, this is the thing. This is like what I said earlier. about people like Puffy. People like Puffy who are super powerful CEOs, they want total control over everything, even how you have sex, watching you have sex, telling you how to have sex. That's like the type of personality of those guys at the top. I swear, guys like Elon Musk, Zuckerberg, um, any billionaire you could think of, any any multimillionaire you could think of, any nigga with a car, a house, and a good job, and an above average income feels like you can't tell them nothing and they have to be in total control. It's just a part of man's nature, unfortunately. And Diddy was this to the extreme because I totally believe this part. I don't believe he pulled up on Suge with the strap, but I believe he told the man to get the strap and hit Cassie from the back. I do believe that part. So the entire encounter lasted multiple days. Mr. Combs began to call the arrangement a freak off or FO. He would repeatedly tell Miss Ventura at random moments that he wanted an FO, and Miss Ventura was eventually expected to facilitate the location and the hiring of male sex workers. At certain points during Miss Ventura and Mr. Combs's relationship, he would insist on an FO weekly. Mr. Combs would repeatedly tell Miss Ventura that this practice was our thing and our secret. That's just wild. That's just wild. Absolutely wild. I want to throw up low key. I want to throw up. That's just sick. So FOs often take place in the hotel suites, including at the Trump International Hotel in Columbus Circle, La Hermitage, Beverly Hills, the London Hotel in Los Angeles, the Intercontinental Century City, the Intercontinental Atlanta, the Intercontinental New York City, the One Hotel in New York and in Miami, the Mandarin Oriental Hotel in New York and in Miami, the Fountain Blue in Miami, the Beverly Hills Hotel, and the Shutters on the Beach in Los Angeles. That's multiple times. That's definitely more than like 8 times that they had FOs in nasty hotels. That's just gross, man. That's just gross. I'm too broke to stay in any of those hotels, but I feel for the rich people that got to lay down on the bed and the comforter got Diddy's cum on it. You get what I'm saying? Gross. All right. So, on one occasion around 2013, Mr. Combs had an FO set up at the Intercontinental Hotel in New York City, after which he was charged with tens of thousands of dollars in damages by the hotel. Upon information and belief, Mr. Combs' chief of staff, Tony Fletcher, paid the invoice charged by the hotel. Interesting. So, Miss Ventura, were they getting that nasty that they broke the hotel? They were doing an FO. They were trying to they were FOing the whole place up. Damn. So Miss Ventura was eventually instructed to use websites and escort services to find male sex workers to participate in the FOs. See, there's a typo right here. To participate in the FOs, but they just wrote participate the FOs. Anyway, Mr. Combs told Miss Ventura to search for large black penises on the website. Gross. Diddy is a BBC cuck. Diddy is a BBC cuck. Diddy has a subscription to blacked.com. That's Diddy was trying Diddy was crazy. Diddy wanted to see Cassie filled up with Mandingo dick. Absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. See, this is worse than Diddy being gay. This is worse than Diddy being gay, low key. Being a BBC cuck is worse than being gay. If you're a BBC cuck low key, you probably are gay or bi, which is okay. There's nothing wrong with being gay or bi. But come on now. Diddy was out here saying, Cassie, take the biggest, blackest, niggaest cock you can find. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy. So sometimes Mr. Combs would pay to fly male sex workers to his location, including to multiple cities in the United States as well as abroad. He required Miss Ventura and his staff to help him make these arrangements. This sounds like a full-time job. This sounds like a full-time job. Like, this is why we couldn't get a new Mary J. Blige record for like years, because Diddy was too busy, scheduling FOs, trying to find the biggest, blackest dicks across the world to come and bang out his girlfriend. That's crazy. That's crazy. But at least this stopped the new Biggie album from dropping. At least this stopped like the new Biggie remix edition. Biggie Diddy was too busy trying to get Cassie piped out with somebody else's cock. Damn, this is crazy. Craig Mack jumped into the chat. He said, "What's good, Simon? Change the title to Grape or Sexual Assault. You can get flagged." I'm gonna change it low key, but I put the line over the A. Let's see. I might change it. I might lock it out. I might change the title completely. I'll do that. Shout out to Craig Mack for always looking out. Anyway, so Diddy was trying to find big dicks for his wife or his girlfriend. It's crazy. So sometimes Mr. Combs would pay to fly male sex workers to his location, including to multiple cities in the United States as well as abroad. He required Miss Ventura and his staff to help him make these arrangements. Mr. Combs's assistants would help to set up the FOs, including by setting up the hotel suites with baby oil and Astroglide. Oh, girl. They setting up the hotel room with baby oil and Astroglide, ready to get the FO on. This is insane. This is insane. This is a movie. Surviving Diddy is gonna be 10 times better than surviving Puffy. Surviving. Imagine being his assistant, Ozzy said. Jesus Christ. Oh my God. What's on the list today? Oh, you wake up, you clock into work. Diddy tells you, hey, go to CVS, get me 20 pounds of Vaseline and a big tub of Astroglide. That's just nasty, man. That's nasty. And no condoms. No condoms. That's even worse. There are no condoms in this story. There's no condoms in this story. Ain't a single Trojan, ain't a single Magnum in this bitch. Ain't this a shame? Ain't that's just nasty. Absolutely disgusting. I'm sorry. Mr. Combs always supplied Miss Ventura and the sex worker with copious amounts of drugs before and during the FOs. Miss Ventura was given ecstasy, cocaine, GHB, ketamine. GHB is that gay drug. That's like a drug that people in that lifestyle take to make their booties expand. It loosens your muscles. So she was doing a lot of anal too. That's gross. So ketamine, marijuana, and alcohol in excessive amounts during FOs, which allowed her to disassociate during these horrific encounters. I don't know, Cassie. I don't know if it was so horrific. I don't know if it's horrific because you did it a lot. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. In this case, I gotta say you gotta take some agency because it started off with beatings and all these other things. And if you still didn't leave, and now you're doing 3 ways where Diddy's jacking off while you get piped down. I mean, come on. There has to be some agency here. All right. I'm sorry. This allowed her to disassociate during these horrific encounters. It became commonplace to get IV fluids in the days after an FO to recover from the excessive substances pushed upon her. Miss Ventura was required to dress up in lingerie for an FO, and Mr. Combs insisted she wear white nail polish to contrast her nails with the skin of the black men he hired to have sex with her. Jesus, oh God, this is next level detail. See, this level of detail makes me believe this story, bro. I believe this story 1,000%. I believe that Diddy even painted her nails. He said, "Oh, that's gonna look so good wrapped around that big mandingo stick." Jesus Christ, Diddy! Oh my God! Oh my God, Diddy! You nasty son of a bitch! You nasty son of a bitch, Diddy! Jesus Christ, that's gross. That's gross that you have these sort of fantasies, Diddy. Absolutely disgusting. So during the FO, Mr. Combs would instruct Miss Ventura to pour excessive amounts of oil all over herself. See, this is the one thing I believe. Ozzy said can never look at Diddy the same. Can't look at Diddy the same, man. Imagine Diddy watching Cassie getting piped down with her like white nails, like gripping the couch, and Diddy's in the back jerking off, talking about take that, take that, take that. You gonna love me, baby. Him doing the Harlem Shake in the background while she getting piped down. Oh my God, oh my God, this is next level. Oh, it gets even worse. During the FO, Mr. Combs would instruct Miss Ventura to pour excessive amounts of oil over herself. Mr. Combs would then instruct Miss Ventura and the sex workers to speak to each other, and then would specifically tell Miss Ventura where to touch the sex workers. Mr. Combs would say things like, grab that big black dick, and ask her, how does it feel, as he directed her to perform for him. Absolutely crazy. Absolutely sick, man. Diddy needs to be a director on Blacked or Dog Fart or something like that. Like, Diddy is out here looking crazy and sounding crazy. Now, this is the most believable part of this story, hands down. Jesus Christ, Diddy's a cuck. Diddy is a BBC cuck. I wonder how Biggie would feel. I wonder how Biggie would feel in all of this. Would Biggie be okay? Would the notorious Big condone Diddy having big black men pipe down his girlfriend right in front of him? It's a shame. It's a shame. Uh, during the FOs, in addition to directing Miss Ventura and masturbating, Mr. Combs would use his phone, laptop, and tablet to film Miss Ventura having sex with the hired sex workers. He treated the forced encounter as a personal art project, adjusting the candles he used for lighting to frame the videos he took. Man, Diddy had a whole passion project. How big and black and deep can you go in Cassie? And he was filming these movies. Oh my God. Man, it's crazy. This is insane. Diddy had a whole passion project. This is why Bad Boy Records is defunct. This is why we never got a Diddy versus, because Diddy was over here making Cassie versus. This is insane. So, while Miss Ventura quickly deleted any photographs or video of sex acts if they were taken on her phone, Mr. Combs repeatedly made clear that he retained many videos of Miss Ventura during FOs. Even when she deleted the videos, Mr. Combs would tell Miss Ventura that he was able to recover deleted videos from her devices. On one occasion, he sat next to her on a flight and made her watch a video she thought she had deleted, reinforcing her inability to escape and the immense power he held over her. Mr. Combs would pay the male sex workers a few $1,000s in cash for their services. During some FOs, Mr. Combs would become extremely intoxicated and would hit Miss Ventura in front of the male sex workers. Wow, wow. Wow, Diddy, that's just a violation. Imagine the dude right there. Like, Cassie's jumping up and down on your 12-inch Mandingo stick, and Diddy just comes and knocks the bitch outside the head, and you over here just have to act cool because Diddy just paid you $1,000, and you remember him from the '90s talking about more money, more problems. You get what I'm saying? Imagine how weird you gotta feel. You just gotta feel weird. Like, I feel for any of the guys who went through that, and I hope they come forward too, to say what their experiences were like if any of this actually happened. So, during some FOs, Mr. Combs would become extremely intoxicated and would hit Miss Ventura in front of the male sex workers. Miss Ventura was repulsed by Mr. Combs's demands, but between the physical beating and recognizing his incredible power and incredible temper, Miss Ventura became petrified of her partner and boss and felt that she could not say no. He even would present her with lavish gifts prior to or in the middle of the FOs, seemingly acknowledging the ways in which these forced sexual encounters constituted work for Miss Ventura, and that he needed to compensate her for this work. At one point, he had given her so many designer bracelets for FOs, and immediately following his brutal beatings, that she felt that she was shackled by his presence. Wow, that's kind of deep and poetic and sad. He gave her a lot of bracelets, and the bracelets felt like chains. That's actually very sad. So Ozzy said P Diddy definitely got piped down. I mean, what else are you using Astroglide for? I mean, what else do you need Astroglide? Because baby oil is one thing. Baby oil you can put on your body and get the same effect, but Astroglide, Astroglide is specifically used like Vaseline. You get what I'm saying? So anyway, frequently her anxiety before an FO would become so great that she would become physically ill, sometimes to the point of vomiting. While kneeling over the toilet, Mr. Combs would shame her into performing for him, eventually forcing her to get up and proceed with the encounter. She knew firsthand that telling Mr. Combs that she did not want to engage in FOs was met with anger and violence. In addition, any suggestion that Miss Ventura would refuse the FO or otherwise otherwise report Mr. Combs' abuse was met with ultimatums by Mr. Combs, who would say that Miss Ventura could not go to police because she had a lot to lose. Around August 2015, for example, in the middle of a surprise birthday dinner for Miss Ventura's 29th birthday, Mr. Combs insisted that Miss Ventura leave the party and go to a hotel for an FO. When she expressed that she did not want to go, Mr. Combs had Miss Ventura cornered by his security staff in order to force her to leave with him. Yeah. All right. Now it all makes sense why Cassie married a white man. Cassie is married to like some white body trainer dude right now, and yeah, she looks happy. They have a kid or something like that. And yeah, Diddy ruined black men for Cassie, just like Diddy ruined Jennifer Lopez. Jennifer Lopez has not been around a black man since Diddy. Diddy is ruining black men's chances to get these badass broads. Diddy, stop it. Diddy, you are problematic. We got to take you out the game, buddy. Got to take you out the game. We can't be having all this tomfoolery going on. Cassie's a baddie. She needs a daddy. So you get what I'm saying? Anyway, I'm going to jump back into the text. All right. So after this FO, Mr. Combs and Miss Ventura went back to the hotel room that Miss Ventura was staying in, where some of Miss Ventura's friends were already hanging out. Mr. Combs was severely intoxicated and at one point during the night picked up one of Miss Ventura's friends like a child and dangled the friend over the balcony of a 17th floor hotel suite. That's insane. See, that's something I can't believe. How can Diddy pick up a grown ass person by the ankles and dangle them over the balcony like Suge Knight? That's a famous Suge Knight story. That Suge Knight dangled Vanilla Ice over the balcony or something like that. See, this is why I find it hard to believe this story. There are some things I wholeheartedly believe, like the freak offs and the FOs and the white nail paint. I believe that, but I don't believe Diddy was picking up people and shaking them over the balcony till the pennies fell out their pocket. That don't make sense. That don't make sense. I've seen Diddy in person. I'm gonna tell a story. I used to work at a hotel called the Eden Rock. The Eden Rock is like a very famous hotel in Miami, and I was working as a bellman there. I used to open the doors for people all day. I was broke. I was broke. I was broke as hell. And that's the job I had. And at the Eden Rock, celebrities come through all the time. I saw one of the Kardashians. I saw Chloe. I saw a lot of famous rappers like Snoop Dogg. And Diddy came in there one time. And Diddy was surrounded by like an army of people. And he's like a normal sized dude. He's not like he's only like a little bit taller than me. Like I'm like 5'7", 5'8". Diddy's like 6. You know, a good solid 6 on him. You get what I'm saying? And yeah, he's not that of a big of a dude. He's not a monster. You get what I'm saying? So yeah, I find it very hard to believe Diddy picked somebody up by the ankles and dangled them over the 17th floor of a hotel suite. All right. Yeah. Miss Ventura and her friends were scared by Mr. Combs' erratic behavior, but Miss Ventura was heavily sedated because of the drugs she took to participate in the FO and therefore was unable to respond to Mr. Combs' terrifying behavior. The FOs became work for Miss Ventura, and despite her protestations, Mr. Combs insisted on these intricately staged and forced sexual encounters between Miss Ventura and various male sex workers. So, that was an insane paragraph, absolutely insane. Let's go here to part 6. Miss Ventura tries to escape Mr. Combs' abuse. I wonder what made her run away. Anytime she tried to create distance between her and Mr. Combs, he used his networks to find her and convince her to return to his abuse. On multiple occasions, Mr. Combs sent his employees to lure Miss Ventura back. In 2011, during a rough patch in Mr. Combs and Mr. Ventura's relationship, oh, a rough patch. Seems like the entire thing was a big old rough patch, but there was a rough patch in 2011. So this is why, Cassie was in this relationship somewhat willingly, in my opinion. Now, Diddy did abuse his power over her, and Diddy did make her do some pretty sick and nasty things. But yeah, she was consensually in this relationship, in my opinion. In 2011, during a rough patch in Mr. Combs and Miss Ventura's relationship, Miss Ventura had a brief relationship with musician Kid Cudi. When Mr. Combs returned from a trip, he demanded another FO of Miss Ventura. She acquiesced. During this FO, Mr. Combs found Miss Ventura's phone and found emails between her and Kid Cudi. Mr. Combs became enraged and proceeded to place a manual corkscrew between his fingers and lunged at Miss Ventura. That's crazy. That's crazy. He had the corkscrew between his hand and tried to stab the broad. That's insane. All right. Miss Ventura ran away to stay at Kid Cudi's home to escape Mr. Combs's wrath. Soon thereafter, one of Mr. Combs's staff members told Miss Ventura that he needed to just talk to Mr. Combs, even though Mr. Combs was enraged. Feeling like she could not escape Mr. Combs and his network of enforcers, Miss Ventura returned to Mr. Combs. He hit her several times and then kicked her in the back as she tried to run out the door. She went to her parents' home in Connecticut where her mother took pictures of the bruises Mr. Combs had left on Miss Ventura's body. In February 2012, during Paris Fashion Week, Mr. Combs told Miss Ventura that he was going to blow up Kid Cudi's car and that he wanted to ensure that Kid Cudi was home with his friends when it happened. Around that time, Kid Cudi's car exploded in his driveway. That's insane. See, that's insane. But once again, I'm gonna ask this. This is it's you know what? Can I actually say it? I'm gonna say it. I don't care. I don't care. So she ran away from Diddy in what 2011 and went to her parents' house in Connecticut. But then a few months later in 2012, they're out in Paris Fashion Week. I know she was caught up in his web, signed to his record label. He was the employer. He was getting her big black cocks to jump on and stuff like that, buying her gifts and bags and cars and apartments and all this sort of stuff. But when are you gonna leave? You get what I'm saying? When was the time to actually leave? I just want some agency. I just want that explanation. I'm not blaming. I just want to understand what was the reasoning. If your parents saw the abuse and all that, what was the reason to stay? So, Miss Ventura was terrified as she began to fully comprehend that Mr. Combs was both willing and able to do those he believed had do to those he believed had slighted him. Miss Ventura was terrified Diddy was able to do what he said he was going to do to those that slighted him, like blow up cars. I don't believe that Diddy blew up Kid Cudi's car. We have to ask Kid Cudi. Kid Cudi has to verify that. I don't just believe Cassie's word at this point because a lot of what Cassie says is hard to believe. It's hyperbolic at best. So or at worst. It's hyperbolic at worst. So in 2015, Miss Ventura spoke to a popular music manager at an after party in a hotel suite in Las Vegas. Mr. Combs saw her speaking to this manager and sternly told her to step into the bedroom adjoining the suite. In the bedroom, Mr. Combs beat Miss Ventura severely. She ran from corner to corner of the room, trying to avoid Mr. Combs's beating and kicking. When she tried to lock herself in the bathroom, he pushed through and punched and kicked her while she curled up under the toilet. Her screams were drowned out by the loud music playing in the outside area of the hotel suite. When Mr. Combs, his head of security and assistant, saw Miss Ventura after the assault, they began to cry. Miss Ventura had two black eyes, a bust and bruised lip, and a huge welt on her forehead. Upon seeing the results of his vicious attack, Mr. Combs immediately took steps to conceal his wrongdoing. He forced Miss Ventura to stay at his home in Holmby Hills along with one of his sons. While there, Mr. Combs FaceTimed Miss Ventura and stated, "You got to go up and put more makeup on. My son can't see you like that." She did put makeup on per Mr. Combs's demands. Miss Ventura felt that she had no choice but to obey her abuser. Even though security guards, assistants, and friends saw the situation she was in, no one dared to help her or speak up on her behalf. She therefore had no choice but to remain subservient. Later in 2015, while shooting a movie in Cape Town, South Africa, Miss Ventura began a flirtatious relationship with an actor. She spent New Year's Eve with this actor, but Mr. Combs soon found out. Mr. Combs called the actor and threatened him. The actor proceeded to call Miss Ventura and tell her, "You really need to call Mr. Combs." So, in or around March 2016, during an FO, so they're still having FOs. They're still having big dick nasty black freak offs. They're still doing this nasty astroglide stuff. When is it going to stop? When is it going to stop? They're doing as late as 2016. In 2016, they were having freak offs. still, still is gross, man. How do you read that paragraph? See, that the reason I laughed is because oh, Diddy was beating on me, Diddy was abusing me, he was blowing up Kid Cudi cars. So then we had a freak off. Then he called Jason Love over to blow my back out. I mean, come on, man, this is getting insane. This is getting insane. Diddy is addicted to these freak offs. Why do they keep on? I thought we were past that chapter. I thought this was over. Did he even have sex with her still, or did he just pay people to have sex with her? That's crazy. $1,000 to sleep with Cassie. There's people that'll do it for free. There's people that'll do it for free. Anyway, in or around March 2016, during an FO at the Intercontinental Hotel in Century City, Los Angeles, Mr. Combs became extremely intoxicated and punched Miss Ventura in the face, giving her a black eye. Wow. After he fell asleep, Miss Ventura tried to leave the hotel room, but as she exited, Mr. Combs awoke and began screaming at Miss Ventura. Uh, he followed her into the hallway of the hotel while yelling at her. He grabbed at her and then took glass vases in the hallway and threw them at her, causing glass to crash around them as she ran to the elevator to escape. Oh man, that's crazy. He was wild with it. Maybe he wasn't pleasing her. Yeah, possibly, possibly. Maybe Diddy didn't hit it right. Diddy didn't hit that. He didn't hit that. So she managed to get into the elevator, and when she got to the lobby, quickly took a cab to her apartment. Upon realizing that her running away would cause Mr. Combs to be even angrier with her and completely stuck in his vicious cycle of abuse, Miss Ventura returned to the hotel with the intention of apologizing for running away from her abuser. When she returned, hotel security staff urged her to get back into a cab and go to her apartment, suggesting that they had seen the security footage showing Mr. Combs beating Miss Ventura and throwing glass at her in the hotel hallway. Upon information and belief, Mr. Combs paid the Intercontinental Century City $50,000 for the hallway security footage from that evening. After this, Miss Ventura left her home in Comstock and went to hide away at a friend's home in Florida. James Cruz, president of Bad Boy Management, tracked Miss Ventura down and told her that her single would not be released if she did not answer Mr. Combs' phone calls. A woman who worked at Sony Music reached out to her with a similar ultimatum concerning her record. Incredibly, Mr. Combs even convinced one of his attorneys to call Miss Ventura at this time. The lawyer told Miss Ventura that it's in your best interest to call Mr. Combs back. Each time Miss Ventura tried to run away, Mr. Combs and his powerful network would force her back to him. Mr. Combs' tight hold over her life had irreparably damaged her friendships. Around 2018, when Miss Ventura was with her friend Carrie Morgan in her house, Mr. Combs used his key to Miss Ventura's house and came in unannounced. He and Miss Morgan had an altercation, during which Mr. Combs threw a hanger at Miss Morgan. Upon information and belief, the incident resulted in a settlement between Mr. Combs and Miss Morgan, and Miss Ventura ended up paying Miss Morgan additional funds in an attempt to resolve the dispute between her close friend and her abusive and controlling boyfriend. The relationship between Miss Ventura and Miss Morgan has been strained since this time. Seeing the extreme measures Mr. Combs took to keep a tight hold on Miss Ventura and isolate her from her support network, and having experienced the repercussions of rejecting his demands, Miss Ventura felt that saying no to Mr. Combs would cost her something: her family, her friends, her career, or even her life. Wow. Wow, this is crazy. This is crazy. I feel very sad for this girl. You know, Diddy's taking away her friends. We're almost towards the end of this, so y'all just stick with me. We're almost done. But I want to appreciate Ozzy, Craig Mack, and everybody who's been watching this in the live stream now or in the playback. Shout out to y'all. Let's get into, I believe, the final part. Mr. Combs rapes Miss Ventura. By 2017 and 2018, Miss Ventura became desperate to leave Mr. Combs and his abuse of her. She recognized that if she stayed with him, she would never be able to have a successful career or ever be physically and mentally safe. She therefore became determined to completely break away from Mr. Combs and his cycle of abuse and made concerted efforts to avoid him. In September 2018, she joined Mr. Combs for a dinner at an Italian restaurant in Malibu, California, for what she believed would be a discussion about concluding their relationship for good. After dinner, Mr. Combs and Miss Ventura returned to Miss Ventura's homes, which was paid for by Mr. Combs. Mr. Combs forced himself into her apartment and tried to kiss Miss Ventura. She told him to stop and attempted to push him away. Mr. Combs then forcibly pulled off Miss Ventura's clothing and unbuckled his belt. He proceeded to rape Miss Ventura while she repeatedly said no and tried to push him away. Soon thereafter, Miss Ventura took steps to completely separate herself from her longtime abuser, including by leaving the home that he paid for and returning the car he purchased for her. Despite moving away, Miss Ventura's address was posted online in early 2019, leading to fears for her safety. Miss Ventura, who was under immense duress during the months after Mr. Combs raped her, took all steps possible to entirely remove herself from her abuser's ambit. Do they mean orbit? This is a typo. I don't know if ambit is a word. I've never heard it. Including by entering into contracts to end her record deal with Bad Boy Records. See, this story, you know what? I can kind of believe that Diddy, forced himself on her after everything. Because a lot of men get that power trip when you're able to abuse a woman for a long time, when you're able to lord yourself over her for so long, you might feel like you can do anything and that her body belongs to you. That's probably what Diddy thought. So Ozzy looked up ambit, the scope, extent, or bounds of something. Okay, so yeah, to escape her, the bounds or the extent of Diddy's control. Thank you, Ozzy. Thank you for the definition. Let's go on. Mr. Combs's sexual and physical abuse of Miss Ventura has caused her lifelong harm. As a result of the immense trauma Miss Ventura endured for over a decade with Mr. Combs, she has suffered and continues to suffer from immense emotional distress. Following her escape from the cycle of abuse and sex trafficking she endured, she struggled with the physical and mental manifestations of her trauma. The birth of her two children, however, allowed her a new lease on life and gave her purpose. She credits her children with saving her from the trauma that had consumed over a decade of her life. Except for the months when she was pregnant with her child, Miss Ventura struggled with her addictions to drugs and alcohol, addictions that were established and fueled by Mr. Combs. She turned to substances to drown out the memories of her abuse without being intoxicated. She suffered from horrific nightmares of the forced sexual acts that Mr. Combs demanded she participate in during the regularly scheduled FOs and of the physical beatings that she endured throughout her relationship. She had difficulty eating or sleeping, and her relationship with her family suffered. During this time, she frequently had thoughts of ending her life. To rebuild her life and her career, Miss Ventura needed to completely reinvent herself. She checked herself into inpatient treatment at a rehabilitation center where she first confronted the extent of the trauma she lives with. She has required intensive therapy and other medical care to recover from Mr. Combs's abuse, and she will forever live with the physical and psychological repercussions of the over a decade of violence. Of over a decade of violence. Once again, another typo. Fear and exploitation she endured. Uh, Although Miss Ventura was unable to speak up against the years of abuse she endured at the hands of Mr. Combs, she has since been able to rebuild her life and confront her trauma thanks to the passage of New York's Adult Survivors Act and California's Sexual Abuse Accountability and Cover Up Act. She is now ready and able to confront. She is now able and to also confront her abuser. She is now ready and able to also confront her abuser. Okay. And to hold him and those who enabled him and enabled his abuse accountable for their actions. All right. Plaintiff repeats and realleges each and every allegation in all of the preceding paragraphs as if fully set forth herein. Oh, say she's doubling down on it. So So, plaintiff is a victim of sex trafficking within the meaning of 18 USC 1591 and is therefore entitled to bring a civil action under 18 USC 1595. The defendant's acts and omissions taken separately and or together as outlined above constitute a violation of 18 USC 1595. Specifically, defendant Sean Combs perpetrated sex trafficking of Miss Ventura by requiring her to engage in forced sexual acts in multiple jurisdictions, and all defendants benefited from Mr. Combs's venture by holding Miss Ventura, an artist signed with the defendant Bad Boy Records and otherwise employed by other defendant Doe corporations, captive to Mr. Combs's demands and desires. At all relevant times, defendant participated in and facilitated the harboring and transportation of plaintiff for purposes of sex induced by force, fraud, or coercion. I want a clear understanding of sex trafficking, because I thought sex trafficking is when you have prostitution happening, meaning that you make a woman sleep with somebody and then you get the money that is intended to be paid to her. But I guess sex trafficking is when sex is used by force on somebody to make a person sleep with somebody else, even if no money is involved, because the money that was paid were to the prostitutes, the male prostitutes who were forced to sleep with Cassie, as so the story went. I just want to understand what true sex trafficking is, what legally is and isn't sex trafficking. Either way, She's filing that under that complaint. So the defendant corporations have financially and otherwise benefited as a result of these acts and omissions by keeping Mr. Combs, the volatile and explosive owner of the defendant corporations, satisfied. They benefited from facilitating his behavior to the extent it kept the mercurial music mogul happy and kept Miss Ventura obedient to Mr. Combs and the corporation's interests. Defendant Combs and defendant Bad Boy Records, Bad Boy Entertainment, and Doe Corporations formed a venture as defined by 18 USC 1591, given that they constituted a group of two or more individuals associated, in fact, whether or not a legal entity. So they're saying that, Sony Records, Bad Boy Records can all be held liable as well because people there who were employees there facilitated Diddy's assaults on Cassie. The label gave him money to fly her out. The security guards allowed that abuse to happen and did not intervene, et cetera, et cetera. Lawyers from the label and execs from Sony were calling her up, telling to call back Diddy. So that's what they're trying to allege here. As a direct and proximate result of defendant's unlawful conduct, as alleged here and above, plaintiff has suffered physical injury, severe emotional distress and anxiety, humiliation, embarrassment, post-traumatic stress disorder, economic harm, and other consequential damages. Plaintiff also seeks reasonable attorney's fees as provided under 18 USC 1595. Second cause of action, violation of the New York Service of Human Trafficking, NY Service Law 483 BBC. That's funny. That's funny. That's just each and every allegation and all of the preceding paragraphs as if fully set forth herein. That means I'm standing on it. Yeah, I'm doubling down. Plaintiff is a victim of sex trafficking with all the same things. Okay, I'm not reading all that again. Yeah. Sean Combs perpetrated sex trafficking. Yeah. Okay, we already read that. Third cause of action, violation of the California trafficking. Okay, we already read all this. They're listing out the uh, the causes, like the claims. Fourth cause of action, battery, sexually assault. All right, the third cause of action, violation of the California Trafficking Victims Protection Act. Okay, yeah. Uh, so they're saying that it's timely because it falls within the statute of limitations, meaning you can't just, uh, you know, uh, try people for something that they did 20 years ago. Fifth cause of action, sexual assault pursuant to the California Sexual Abuse and Cover Up Accountability Act. So yeah, I think this is in relation to the rape that she alleges that he did. uh, so yeah, there was a cover up of that. Violation of the Victims of Gender Motivated Violence Act. So that's what they're charging, or that's what she's alleging Diddy did as well. Seventh cause of action, sexual harassment, gender discrimination, and hostile work environments. Yeah, so I guess it was a toxic work environment where FOs could pop off at any time. Eighth cause of action, sexual harassment, gender discrimination, and hostile work environments. That's the other thing. Okay, there's a lot. It's a lot here. So, prayer for relief. Wherefore, plaintiff prays judgment be entered in her favor against defendants, and each of them as follows. For a money judgment representing compensatory damages, including consequential damages, lost wages, earning, and all other sums of money, together with interest on these amounts, according to proof. For a money judgment for mental pain and anguish and severe emotional distress, according to proof. For punitive and exemplary damages, according to proof. For attorney's fees and costs, for prejudgment and post-judgment interest, and for such other and further relief as the court may deem just and proper. Dated November 16th, 2023, New York, New York. Respectfully submitted by Douglas H. Wigdor, Meredith A. Firetalk, and Michael J. Williman. These are the attorneys for Cassie. So yeah, she's asking for money. She's asking for money and for the court to do whatever they wish. She's asking for mental anguish, lost wages, everything like that. Very, very interesting case. Very, very disturbing information we read today. I don't know how to feel. I feel like I need to take a shower after all of that. We're going to close this with some poetry. This is one of my favorite verses from Diddy. I read this at the beginning, but I'm going to close off with it right here. This is a verse that Diddy rapped on Biggie's album, Life After Death, on the song The World Is Filled. The first verse is Diddy rapping, and he says, now first come the cash, then come the ass, then come big blunts with big chunks of hash. When I score with a whore, she be game for sure. Pimp so hard, a nigga Pimp so hard, a nigga drag his mink on the floor. Won't you admit it? I ain't gotta talk it cause I live it. Any chick fucking with me, believe me, that's a privilege. I won't be satisfied till all my niggas get it. See you hit it, then I hit it. We get it back to split it. And Big be that nigga, we be flying through your hood and hood rats scoping with their eyes on my goods. See, we date them like we hate them, see them like them, we don't need them, treat them like we beat them, and never give up freedom. And we only give our number to a selected few. And it's best that you never knew what good head'll do. Turn a freak to a bisexual, and if she's flexible, fuck the nigga next to you. Wow. Wow. You speak, you speak it into existence. This was an interesting read. Catch y'all on the next live stream. Thanks for rocking with me. My name's Simon Hill. Peace.